Welcome back to Overdunk, everybody, everyone's favorite competitive Pokemon Unite podcast. My name is Zoinks, and I am joined by a very incredible guest. We have a guest coming all the way from Korea into the wee hours of the night. You're in epic gamer hour territory right now, S4L. But S4L from Korea is joining us on an interview. Thank you so much for joining me, S4L.
Thanks for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, of course, of course. And I mean, the honor is all mine because, of course, you are a representative on team at No Show in Korea last year at the World Championships. And now, of course, you're having even more success this year, winning the April tournament in Korea. I mean, it was a matter of time until we got you on an interview. It needed to happen. So I'm excited that you were joining us. We got a lot of questions, of course, in the Western regions. We don't get to see too much of the Eastern metagame, of how their tournaments are structured, and all that exciting stuff. So we're going to have to break all that down in this interview. I'm excited. I know everyone listening is as well. But I did want to start off with a little bit of information about you, S4L. So how did you get into gaming? When did you start gaming? Was Pokemon Unite your first competitive game, or did you play competitive games before Unite?
Um, I don't quite remember how I started like the gaming in my life, but
Sure.
it was definitely a PC game,
Mm,
not like a video game or anything.
okay.
Um, but yeah, this isn't my first competitive game, but I played Dota 2 before,
Cool.
competitively, but I wasn't really famous. But yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Um, sure. And I started playing when it was reaching near end of the season one when the mobile game was released on Pokemon Unite.
Got
That's
it.
when I started playing Unite. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, are you still a mobile player through and through, or do you play on Switch?
I'm still a mobile player, but I am considering to switch on
Ooh,
Switch.
really? What would prompt you to make the switch?
Um, some of the Pokemons that I play
Mm-hmm.
are actually better on Switch, better to
Okay.
play on Switch. It's more challenging to play on mobile, so I am actually considering.
Interesting. I mean, maybe you'll be the first flex player. You'll have a phone and a Switch on stage, and you'll be able to hot swap. I don't know if they'd allow that, but if they do, that would be pretty crazy. Is there like maybe just one example, a specific Pokemon that you're like, this Pokemon feels terrible on mobile, but I think is great on Switch? Do you have one of those in mind?
Um, Actually, like I think a lot. But
Really?
for instance, like Zoroark, if you're playing on
Oh,
mobile, like the Night Slashes, it could go off just by like doing slight touches on mobile, but on Switch, there's less room to make mistake with it, like something like
oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Joystick control leaves a little bit less movement. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Well, S4L, what role do you play for your team at Pokemon Unite?
I play jungle for my team.
Cool.
Mainly because I don't have experience playing on top or bottom line.
Oh, fair enough.
I think yeah, I think in my Unite career I only played like 20 or 30 games of top or bottom. So
That's
yeah,
hilarious. I know
that
you
is the
play a
only
lot
option
too,
I have.
so
Yeah,
that's saying something. Were you
yeah.
playing jungle in Dota as well?
Yeah. No, I was playing mid lane in Dota.
Mid lane in Dota. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You made the swap to jungle. What about jungle? Was it just because there wasn't that many jungle players when you were starting, and so you filled that role, or do you just really like playing the jungle role in Unite?
When I first played Pokemon Unite, if I go to the sidelines, there there always will be opponent players who's facing, and I need to compete for to get the last hits on creeps, right?
Right,
But
right.
yeah, but at the very start, the games are very easy, and jungle like I can take all those, and I'll be like level five, and yeah, level five really
Bro.
soon. So I decided to play jungle.
Sure, a
Yeah,
bit of a carefree level 5 route. Fair enough.
yeah.
That'll help. Okay, I like that a lot. Well, I mean, level 5 is a pretty strong power spike in this game. A lot of A lot of Pokemon really become available at that point. Well, and
Yeah.
then the last question I kind of had for you, S4L, is just what made you want to start competing in Pokemon Unite? Like, what part of the game really brought you to the competitive side? Are you just a competitive person, so whatever you do, you like to compete within, or was it like you found some friends who were also really interested in competing? Yeah, what drew you to competitive Pokemon Unite?
Uh, I like to compete, but actually last year I wasn't going to play in any tournaments because
Okay.
I was just playing Pokemon Unite for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But then the prize pool for
Yeah.
AOS Cup and was it regional? Yeah, regional was shown, and we were just like, hey, why don't we just gather and take a couple $100? And then I was like, oh, okay. And then we started forming a team, and then that was how No Show was formed.
That's
And then
awesome.
we were just like, if we do well, we all can go to London. So we were just playing for fun.
That's fantastic. Oh, the For Fun team makes it all the way to Worlds. I love to hear that. So when and let's start talking about Worlds last year actually. So you like you said, you just were the For Fun team that formed up. You won some pretty nice prize money and then qualified for the World Championships. Last year, were you the first place team in Korea or the second place team?
For regional, we were the first place team.
The first place team. Okay, got it. So you
Yes,
won your
yes.
region and made it to the World Championships, of course. I think that a lot of people had eyes on your squad when you came to Worlds. It was you were an exciting team. You had some great games on stage. I remember interviewing you, I think, a couple of times. Your Dragonite taking player of the game in a few spots. But how was your experience at the World Championships? Did you have a lot of fun? Did you feel like your team performed really well? Like, how did you feel overall about Worlds last year?
The Worlds last year, it was very memorable. It was full of excitement, like throughout every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also an honor to be participating in the Worlds. And
Mm-hmm.
I met so many amazing players, staffs, like got to try, and you, of course,
Of course.
got
Yeah.
to travel EU, like which I've never done before.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was memorable, especially because I got to travel with my teammates that I worked so hard with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm happy with the result that we got in the
Cool.
Worlds last year.
That's great. And you said to travel EU. Did you get to stay or go early or stay a little bit later to travel a bit around Europe, or did you just kind of go for the World Championships, spend your time in London, and then head back home?
We just stayed for the scheduled for World Championship because I needed to get back to my life, I
Sure.
working life. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I know
yeah.
that feeling. Don't worry. Yeah, sometimes you gotta get back. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that is but still, the ability to travel to London for the first place for a fun trip like that is really really cool. Awesome. So did you finish? No show finish fifth, sixth, right? Like five or
Yes,
sixth
yes.
place in the World Championships. Okay, yeah, a really really fantastic placement within the tournament. I was it was an exciting one. You obviously performed quite well, like I mentioned already. Do you remember like any one favorite game that you had at the World Championships? Was there like one matchup that you had, or can you not even remember back that far? I mean, Worlds last year was a long time ago already.
Yeah, it's almost a year ago, but I clearly remember every single game that I played from minute
Okay.
10 to minute 0. I
That is
remember
awesome.
every game, every single game, but the most memorable one was one that I played versus Black Hens,
Okay.
which wasn't streamed online, but
Okay.
yeah, it definitely was favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I because that was the first game that I played against that was the first game that I played versus Western team,
Okay.
and
Got it.
and of course they won the tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
true. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
you got the taste of yeah, the Western region for sure. That was a they were a strong team. They were a very
yeah,
strong
very
team
strong.
last year. They understood
Yeah,
the meta really well. It seemed it was yeah, they were a powerful team, obviously. Well, really cool. I mean, that has to be a good shout out for your favorite game to play. Unfortunately, that it wasn't on stream, but yeah, you still got to face a strong opponent. Um,
yeah.
how about Korea as a whole, right? So No Show and Blossom were the two representatives that we got to see at the World Championships. But obviously the region was full of a lot more teams. How do you feel Korea was in terms of strength level last year? So you finished fifth, sixth, Blossom finished a little bit lower than that. I think they got eliminated in group stage. So like, do you feel like Korea was a little bit weaker last year, and have they leveled up at all this upcoming year, do you think?
I think Korea. I think they did. We did pretty well because
Mm-hmm.
No Show and Eternity were finished fifth and ninth. I think
Fifth and
in the
ninth.
world.
Got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fifth and ninth. I think it was pretty decent for considering um in Korea there weren't many teams that were playing competitively.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
That's
that was a
true.
pretty good result.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think they did improve more
Okay.
than
Cool.
last year. This year,
That's awesome. Yeah. You think the competition is leveled up a little bit in year number two?
yeah. I think I'm confident that I can win, but I
Okay.
think anyone can win. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay, well that's exciting. It's some more parity among the teams, then obviously a lot more exciting competition. But and then after Worlds, we had a pretty long off season. The Western region, particularly, we had quite a long off season. Eastern region, you had I think Winter Tournament and ACL, both to kind of fill the gap between Worlds and your tournaments. Now, did you participate in the ACL at all?
Yes, I did
Okay.
participate in ACL with Team No Show.
Was Team No Show? Okay, fantastic. So, what did you think of ACL? Did you like the format? It seemed cool from Western viewers' eyes. Like we got to watch it. It seemed like a really cool event. Had an in-person finals, which was really exciting. Some interesting rule choices. I was surprised you all played with emblems on. That was surprising to me, but I thought it was a really cool event, and the excitement was there for us as well when ACL Season 2 got announced, which is great. But how did you feel about the Asian Championships League?
Oh, it was very interesting for us,
Yeah.
and it was very fun to play with especially with emblems, which yeah empowers your Pokemon even more, and
Oh
then
yeah.
it actually gives you more options to pick because some Pokemons are good, even better with emblems, but
Right.
without them, like they aren't as good as what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, it was fun to play
Okay.
in.
Cool. If you had the choice, like for the Unite Championship Series, the tournament structure, would you prefer to play with emblems rather than without?
Um, that's an interesting question. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's debated a lot.
Yeah, because in like if you want to practice casually, you play in ranked games, but
Mm-hmm.
those are with emblems. So
Right, exactly. So all of a sudden ranked becomes bad practice. That's true. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not sure about that, but I would like it. I, I I think I'm fine with either. I think.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough. I mean, yeah, the other argument on the other side is always like it's another barrier to play. So people who don't have as many emblems or collected them, they could be at a theoretical disadvantage or whatever like that. So you want to try to make it available for anyone to play, but I mean at that point you just have like in tournament mode. Everyone has all emblems unlocked. I
well,
don't know. There's a lot of options that could happen with these things, but fortunately we don't have
for
them right
sure.
now. But okay, so fair
Yeah.
enough. ACL, I think a success in general. Did you get to go attend the in-person event that happened in? I want to say Thailand. Is that true? Is that where the finals happened? I don't remember exactly.
Oh, I think it was in Malaysia, but
Malaysia. That's right.
unfortunately we were placed fourth, I think, so
Okay.
we weren't yeah qualified to go there.
I see. Okay, fair enough. But
Yeah.
you still got to play in the group stage and the Korean qualifiers there and everything. So, fair enough.
Yes, yes.
All right, well, sweet. Well, let's start talking about this season. So the April tournament just happened, which was the first Unite Championship Series tournament to happen for your season. Which and for anybody who's listening who doesn't know how the Eastern regions work, we talked about this a little bit on our last episode of Overdunk. But basically, there is the April tournament, the May tournament, and then the last chance qualifier. And in each of those, you qualify. Is it two teams to make it to the regional tournament? Is that right?
No.
Okay.
Actually, it's three teams from April and
Okay.
May, and then for the last chance qualifier, you take first team for each day, so two teams. So total of 8 team goes to
Okay.
the regional qualifier. Yeah.
So 8 teams make it to the regional qualifier. Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
And then this April tournament, was it just a big double elimination bracket, or did you play? I saw that Japan was playing Swiss. They were playing like a Swiss round format for day one of their tournament. Were you the same way, or was it just a big bracket?
We did the same way, I think.
Okay, so
I'm not
Swiss
too
wins.
sure about the format, but yeah, I think we did the same thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, Swiss formats where you get paired against a random opponent round one, and then everyone who had a win plays another person with a win. So everyone with a 1-0 record plays each other, and then
Oh, yeah, that was it. That was it.
that was it. Okay, interesting. Oh wow, that's really interesting. How many teams signed up for April? Do you remember?
Um,
Or just
for
like
Korea, I think
ballpark
it was
number? Was it like 20, 30, 60?
uh, it was like 18. I think it was
18
like
teams.
18. Not
Wow,
many
you
teams.
played a Swiss format with only 18. Okay, interesting. Um, and then of course it goes to double elimination bracket in the next stage, and you made it all the way to the finals, and you won that one, which was pretty wild. So, S4L, first off, what is your team's name this season?
Uh, it's called Akju.
Okay,
It's Korean. Yeah, it's Korean.
okay, fair
Yeah, it
enough.
means yeah, it means like someone who makes a bad joke.
Okay.
It's like a slang. Yeah,
That's hilarious. Okay,
yeah.
great. So you got the bad joke squad, and you are cruising. How many teammates are you? Are any teammates from that old no show squad still playing with you on this team?
Uh, only one.
Only one. Okay.
Only one, or yeah, only one is playing. Yeah.
Okay. And who is that?
It's Chobo.
Chobo. Okay,
Chobo
sweet.
from
So
last year. Yeah.
S4L and Chobo rocking with a new squad this season, and yeah, you won the finals. So talk to me a little bit about how the tournament went for you. You said it was a really close finals, pretty stressful games. But how did the entire tournament run go? Was it were you feeling confident? What was yeah, talk to me a little bit about the tournament. Was it confidence? Were you nervous the whole time? How did it look?
Um, Before going into the game, obviously, like, I am confident, but I always
Mhm.
respect the opponent that I play versus. So,
Of
I
course.
was pretty, yeah, yeah, I was trying pretty hard for it, but
That's good.
luckily games went pretty easy for us for the most part, and then the final was pretty tough because they were a very strong contender.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That is, and then the team you played in the finals, what is their name again?
It's Team 3 stars. They
Three
call it
stars.
T3S.
Yeah,
Yes.
T3S. Okay, very cool. Yeah, Team 3 stars were your opponents. Extremely close game. I noticed that you were playing Greninja in the finals that you won. We were talking about this a little bit before the show, but talk to me about why you chose Greninja in that draft. What were you What were you cooking over there in Korea? What was happening?
I just saw them picking uh Glaceon and Espeon,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty weak against Greninja. So I thought, hey, this might be a good game for Greninja to play because Glaceon's level 5 isn't that strong as Dodrio or Urshifu.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to pick it, but it didn't go as I planned.
Okay. Yeah, it could
But
be a
still
tricky
managed to
one.
win.
It
Yeah.
could be a tricky one to play for sure. I mean, those you're right. I think on paper that matchup is good. Greninja does really well against Glaceon Espeon. You spike a little bit later in power level, but those passives on both of those Pokemon are tough to tough to work around. Glaceon in particular. You got to make sure someone
Yeah,
else
very.
triggers the Glaceon passive before Greninja can get in, and that is not an easy task. That is not an easy
Yeah,
task.
for
Um,
sure.
so what actually? Let's talk a bit about the meta that Korea is playing in right now. So, I don't know if you've been able to catch any of the Western tournaments that have been happening, any of the Night Championship Series tournaments, but if you have or seen any games, do you think that the Eastern meta is similar to the Western meta right now, or do you think there's some things that are pretty different between the two?
I've only managed to watch few games,
Okay.
so I'm not entirely sure about how Western meta is.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels that they pick whatever is really good, and then they don't mind. I think actually I need to put it this way first.
Okay.
Biggest difference between Eastern and Western is I think correct me if I'm wrong, but Western, I think they s- they like to pick jungle that scales better in the late game rather
Yeah.
than in the early game. And
Mm-hmm.
in Eastern meta, they like to pick Pokemon, jungle Pokemon that scales like bam from level 5. Like
Right.
you're strong, like, you can hit everyone, like something like that. So
Mm.
I think that's the major difference.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
I would agree. I do think it's a bit team dependent. Like I think there are some teams that really rely on those scaling Pokemon to kind of take over late game, and then there's others that are just pretty comfortable swinging in, like throwing a Dodrio jungle and just calling it a day. So I,
Yeah.
I think I think that is a bit team dependent, but you're right. I think Korea definitely leans, or and the eastern regions definitely lean way harder on that early power spike. I think that's a good call. Um, but yeah, other than that, I think it's just the old Espeon Glaceon comp is very, very good. So if you give that to one team, the other team is getting to trying it out a lot on the other side. What would you say were the most common bans you saw in the tournament from the teams throughout?
In the Eastern, right?
Yeah, in
I
Eastern
think
region.
Slowbro,
Okay.
Trevenant,
Mm.
um,
So a lot of defender bans. Okay, interesting.
Urshifu.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
those three are the most banned Pokemons throughout
Yeah.
the tournament, I think. Yeah.
Did Comfey make it into that ever? Was Comfey a targeted ban? I know in North America specifically, we really like banning out that flower ring.
Oh yeah, we actually banned a few Comfy from both teams.
Really? Okay.
A couple times in finals, yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it tends to be a power pick, a sleeper power pick, I think, that Comfey. Or at least you
Yeah, I
just
think
can't
it was
allow
very
that and
powerful.
Dodrio to be together.
Yeah.
That is kind of absurd whenever that happens. So yeah, we see a lot of that. But I think Slowbro, Urshifu, those are like extremely common bans worldwide at this point.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I've been trying my best to watch as many regions as I possibly can. And one thing, like LATAM, like Brazil and LATAM North and South, Dodrio love is no greater than there. The
Yeah.
South America regions, they adore that Pokemon. It is in every game or it is an instant ban. It is one or the other. Dodrio very strong in that region. So I don't know. It's been an interesting metagame to see develop, and it seems like it's the same thing in the eastern regions. Is like we've had these like double mage compositions just become really, really strong. So naturally, the counter has been a lot of like, well, in EU, the counter has kind of become double speedster to counter into it. So like Dodrio Talonflame has been something that Nouns Esports has been trying out to try to counter. Or in North America, it tends to be more like even just two melee brawlers. So you'll run like to try to counter it. So I mean Zoroark, we see some Garchomp play, kind of see some more success because of it. But yeah, it's interesting to see the double mage all of a sudden be just hard countered by this double, engage, like high speed dive kind of composition. So, it's interesting to see that. It's cool to see that it's relatively the same in Korea. One meta
Yeah.
question I had to ask you about S4L though was last
Yes.
year
Yes.
we saw not on your team because I mean Blossom Snorlax was just stuff of legend last year at the World Championship. We couldn't stop talking about Blossom Snorlax.
Yeah.
But
She was great. Yeah.
we also saw a lot of Wigglytuff tank in Korea. Has that kind of stuck around? Is Wigglytuff still a pretty common pick because it is fallen off a cliff in popularity in the western regions? I think there's only like one NA team that still sometimes runs it. It's pretty rare. Where's Wiggly at in Korea?
Um, I don't think hardly ever.
Okay.
I don't think Wigglytuff's hardly ever picked in Korea
Hmm.
as well. I think only one team used it,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't think it's too hot.
Yeah, I mean, when you're competing with Trevenant and Slowbro for like defender picks, or even Mr. Mime, I don't know. It feels like a tough spot to be at. I'm not too sure
Yeah,
about
too.
yeah.
So many good options are there.
I
So
know. It's
yeah.
well, I mean, and towards you, you're the jungle player, which I think in this meta game right now, probably you have the most flexibility of picks, maybe ever. Like in any meta, I feel like there's a lot of junglers that could be realistically chosen. Do you feel the same way? Like, do you feel like you have a lot of options depending on how the draft goes in your jungle role?
Um, I think it really depends on how opponent picks it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they start picking Dodrio or something, like I need to I need to answer with Urshifu or
Yeah.
like at least on Gardevoir, like whose power spike is really good on level 5. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
Psyshock or Future
Yeah,
Sight, both of those moves are absolute nuts at level 5. They do
for
some good
sure.
work. Yeah. Do you play much Gardevoir yourself?
Uh, yes, I like Gardevoir a lot. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, I'm a
Yeah.
big Gardevoir fan too. It's like one of my most popular solo queue picks that I like playing a lot of Gardy. I think that Pokemon's fun. What's your secondary move of choice? Are you a psychic believer or do you try to play with Moonblast sometimes?
Um, I rarely play with Moonblast
Yeah.
because if I were to pick Gardevoir where I need to choose Moonblast, I probably wouldn't draft it. So
Yeah. that's
I
that's a
mostly play with
really
Psychic. Yeah.
That's a really good way of describing it. Listen, if I have
Yeah.
to pick Moonblast, something went wrong in this
Yeah.
draft.
Something
So
went wrong. So
something
yeah.
went terribly wrong. I think that's a good description. Okay, fantastic. Cool. Well, yeah. So it sounds like the metagame pretty similar. Well, actually, one other thing that we see, maybe this is more APAC. We see a lot of this from the SEA regions, but how about Absol? Is Absol a big part of the metagame in Korea, or is it kind of unseen right now?
When both teams made Dodrio or Arsifu ban, I think or actually with even if Arsifu is banned, I think Absol is a really good choice because
Hmm.
other level 5 power spike Pokemon they could pick opponent can possibly pick is Dodrio and
Right.
Absol could counter it. So
Yeah, Absol's
I think
good.
it's really good.
I think
Yeah.
Absol's good at Dojo and like Zor. I think Absol's great in the Zoroark. I think that Pokemon
Yeah.
is.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think Absol is kind of being a little bit slept on in the Western regions right now. I think Eastern regions have caught on to it very well, so it's exciting to watch. However, just Zoroark Comfey is a combination that someone made in the most terrifying lab. That that combination is so
It's
strong.
terrifying.
I mean, even an Absol is gonna have a tough time running up against that
Yeah.
specific combination. So, okay, well, cool. Thanks for getting nerdy with me on the meta discussion. But let's talk a little bit more about the Korean region before we move on. So obviously, you took first place. Currently the leader of the region, strongest in the game right now. So you're one of 3 teams that have now qualified. And you said there was a total of like 16 or 18 teams that signed up for April.
Yeah,
Okay.
there were 18 teams, I think. Yeah.
18 teams, got it.
Yeah.
So the 3 teams that qualified, that are heading towards regional finals, obviously these other teams have more chances to qualify. But if I had to ask you of your opinion, do you think that like these 3 teams that qualified in April are like the strongest teams in the region? Like are you pretty confident that these 3 teams will be 3 of the 4 representatives for the World Championships for Korea?
Uh, for the first and second place, I think so. But
Okay.
for the third place, I think it was pretty even.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So
For the first and second
you
team, I
and
think it was yeah, for sure. I think we can see that in
okay,
the
cool.
June as well. Yeah.
So bad joke and 3 stars will be the two representatives for Korea. I promise I won't call you a bad joke. I promise I will learn the actual team name eventually. But for right now, that's how I work with. Okay, cool. Well, awesome. Well, how about let's zoom in a little bit. What about players to watch? Maybe is there a play? I mean, obviously we've known your legacy in Unite. You're a very strong competitor, but like, how about other than that? Is there any players that like you're like people got to watch out for this player from Korea? They are unbelievably strong. Whether it's on your team or maybe even 3 stars, is there any specific player that you're like they're cooking with gas right now? Definitely keep an eye on them.
Um. Obviously, last year I played with One. He's
Okay.
the player to look out for. And all the members from our team and T3S are really good. But the the tank position on T3S, he's really good. I think
Oh,
he is the player to look out for.
love
Yeah.
tanks. Awesome. What's their
Yeah.
name?
Uh I got their names mixed up, but yeah. I got their names mixed
All
up,
right, whoever
but
picks
yeah,
tank on
yeah,
team 3 stars, just watch out. That's
yeah,
all I'm saying. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah.
Cool.
Because
All
they're
right.
pretty new to the scene. Because
Oh,
they played competitive game in the other game, and they actually won it. I think it was called Pentastorm or something.
okay.
Yeah, they were on the first place for the international tournament,
Ooh.
and then
Okay.
they now decided to play Pokemon Unite. So yeah, they're really good.
All right, a
Yeah.
world champ and another title. That definitely
Oh
holds a
yes.
lot of weight. Okay, cool. All right, well let's talk a little bit about just the game of Unite and where it's at right now. So we talked a little bit about this before the show, but the in the East you have a lot less bans than we do in the Western regions. There was a few Pokemon that we had banned out because of bugs that the East did allow through, but also you allowed a lot of the newly released Pokemon to just be available immediately. I think Chandelure is probably the biggest example of this. It's a brand new release. Usually, the Western regions have a tendency to have a 2-week ban on brand new Pokemon, mostly to watch out for bugs because this game's got a history of having a lot of bugs
History,
Pokemon in the
yes.
game. So what do you think of that? Do you prefer to have the new release in immediately? Like, yeah, it's fun, just let it happen, or would you like the Western style a little bit more?
I think it's fair to ban out the newly banned Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know why it's so different between Western and
I
Eastern,
don't
but
know either. S4L, I
yeah,
don't.
I know. And I know I know Western region banned out so many Pokemon just because it had those Pokemons had glitches.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
in Asia, like I asked to the boards and they were just like, no, we will just be banning Zacian and Blastoise.
And Blastoise, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, we even had, I mean, even for Aeoscup, like Glaceon had a kind of a brand new bug, and we just sort of let it run. So, I mean, it's kind of dependent on what tournament and when it happens, I suppose. So, fair enough.
Yeah,
Okay, so but Blastoise was banned. Hopefully, that one's fixed. Guess we'll have to see. I think Lapras also fixed now, so that's exciting. So Lapras should be back in. What
yeah,
do you think about
hopefully.
Lapras actually, competitively? Do you think it's really strong?
Um, I think it's really strong,
Yeah.
at least in Eastern region perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, it has very good defense. It has a lot of disables. It farms fast.
Yeah. It
Its
kind of does
Unite move is
everything.
yeah, cooldown is really fast too. Like
Uh-huh.
yeah, it can do anything.
It's
Like it can do damage. It can tank.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Yeah,
finally got a
it's
bit of
very
a nerf in
flexible.
its
Yeah,
water pulse nerf, which I think is a good call. That water pulse move is doing way too much
yeah,
damage, but I don't know. Lapras, I think, will be one of the strongest Pokemon in this upcoming tournament. Like if it's allowed through, which I think it will be. I don't know. I think we're gonna see a lot of Lapras. Maybe not even in the tank position. We might see it as like a top lane pick. I don't know. We tend to see like just non-evolution Pokemon show up there from time to time, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Um,
yeah. Well,
yeah, I don't know. The next question I did have to ask you, we talked about this a little bit throughout the episode, but obviously season 1, we had just blind pick, no draft, and finally in season 2, we got draft mode added to the game. Do you prefer draft mode? Have you been having a lot more fun with it? I personally adore draft mode. I'm so happy that it's in the competitive circuit now. But how about you? Are you enjoying draft mode? Is it a good time?
I too adore draft
Mm-hmm.
mode. Like I've been waiting so long for the
Uh-huh.
draft mode because it's like every day the same 5 Pokemon for both teams. It was like
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it was just
atrocious.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun to play, it's not fun to watch. It was certainly not fun to cast. So I am glad that we are at that point now too. All right, well,
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
very interesting with draft mode. Yeah,
Hmm.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, fair enough. Well, S4L, I before we kind of get to the end of this thing, I did want to ask you one more question about your team. Obviously April
Oh,
tournament
sure.
champions, headed towards regional finals. What do you think is like your team's biggest strength? As a squad, obviously you're champion, so you're doing something right. Do you think that you're a really good drafting team? Do you have good macro gameplay? You just straight up a bit of a skill diff in some scenarios. Like, what do you think really brings your squad up to that first place spot that you got?
Um, I don't think we're like especially good in anything,
Okay.
but we are confident. But I guess we have a little bit of everything, everything of
Okay.
what you just said. Like strong draft, good macro, skill different. I think we're on the average level, a bit above average. But yeah, I think our strength is having all of them in a balanced power. I think.
Cool. Yeah, that's hey,
Yeah.
that is also a strength in its own right. But also, chat is telling me that it's jungle diff. So I think it's I think it's you. I think you're the star. I think you're carrying the squad, or at least chat thinks so. I like that. Okay, very very cool. Awesome. Well, I am really excited to watch more from your team as you're playing in the Unite Championship Series. It's gonna be fun. Unfortunately, we won't get to see you in May or the Last Chance qualifier. However, I guess that's kind of fortunate for you. You've already qualified for the big one. So I am excited to watch your team play in regionals and the Korean region as a whole. It's gonna be a lot of fun. When you are obviously now you are turning ahead to look towards the World Championships. You got one more tournament to get through, and then yeah, if you win that one or you qualify through that, you're headed towards Worlds. What is that preparation looking like? Like, I see you on Twitter all the time looking for scrims constantly. Are you scrimming just teams from Korea? Are you trying to scrim teams from other regions? How does the practice schedule look like for you and the team?
We don't scrim versus Korean teams
Okay.
just because we feel secure that way.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we try to look for scrims on Twitter, but mostly the teams we scrim with are like top tier teams from other regions like APAC, West to East, Japan,
Yep.
or yeah,
Cool.
India. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a very good practice for us.
Yeah, no kidding. So you have experience playing as APAC, Japan, India. I mean, out of those, like, is there a region that you're like, okay, that region is crazy good right now? Like, out of those three that you just mentioned, when you're scrimming against them, what of those regions do you think is exceptionally strong?
Um, I think APAC East is really strong,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I think all of them are really strong.
Mhm.
But it's just some teams that are like exceptionally good, like throughout the regions
Of course.
are there.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I've personally been trying to study as much Oyasumi macro as I can from Japan, and yeah,
Well, yeah,
I
they're really
think
strong.
I think rank 10 in APAC is really strong. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there right now.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
good
making
teams.
me very, very excited for the World Championships eventually to watch some incredible Unite. I cannot wait, but that'll be awesome. Well, S4L, I think that's going to kind of bring us to the end of our interview. Well, thank you so much again for joining me and, being a part of a Western channel. But I think this was really fun to interview someone from the East, get a bit more of insight on Korea, your team, of course. Congratulate you on a great tournament win. All of that has been a lot of fun. Is there anything you want to say to a global audience? Like, anything that we need to look out for, anything you want to give a shout out to, anything like that?
First, thanks for having me here. And yeah, to say like, we'll be working hard towards the road to getting to Japan. Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll try hard and we'll try to get there. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Hey, a lot of us are very much excited to watch you pushing hard to make it all the way there. I did have a question from chat. Do you have a stream? Do you stream on Twitch or YouTube or anything like that?
I used to stream, but I don't stream anymore.
Okay, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
maybe when S4L eventually returns, I'll make sure to get a shout out on the show eventually if people want to go watch S4L content. Until then, you can always watch incredible tournament gameplay in Korea. I'm sure S4L will be making highlight reels happen there again. But I think that is going to bring us to. That's actually kind of cool though. Someone said a quick shout out to the Korean fans. I think Korea had the highest viewership in all the tournaments for April Cup. So that's pretty cool. Shout out to Korea. A lot of people watching. That's fun.
Oh.
But anyway, but that is going to bring us to the end of our show. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Of course, special thank you to you again, S4L, for joining. If you were listening on a podcast platform, please don't forget to put that 5-star review. Helps more people find the show. And if you're on YouTube, of course, leave that like and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.